Cam Newton. I'm Sierra Goodwill here with Evan Lazar. Cam Newton officially named QB1 today. Apparently, Bill Belichick announcing him as the starting quarterback in a team meeting. And he also became a team captain. So really big day for Newton on the Patriots. Your reaction to the news today?
Well, I think this was pretty much a formality, Sierra, at this point, and really was a formality, I think, since Cam Newton first stepped in the building in early August. You know, that presence, that aura that he brings to the table before he even steps on the field. He's what Bill Parcells used to call a planet player, which means he has a gravitational pull where guys just kind of, like to be around him and like to feed off the energy and like all the things that he brings to the table. That on top of the work ethic, I mean, early morning arrivals. We're talking about before sunrise, 6 a.m. at the Patriots facility before practice every single day, getting ready for the day, preparing for the day, going through his playbook, his notebook, that type of stuff. That was really the start, I think, of where we got here to all the way to him being named the starter officially today. Then we got on the field with training camp, and I think the one thing that really stood out throughout training camp, and what we talked about this a lot too, Sierra, was just the playmaking ability, right? It's not necessarily, that he ran the offense the best or he looked the most comfortable out there, but there's only one guy that brings that type of dynamic sort of playmaking skill to the table out of these three quarterbacks, and it's Cam Newton. So I think when you look at the position players around him, the skill players around him, the Patriots said, man, we really need his mobility, his arm strength, his big play ability to kind of awaken this offense a little bit. And all those things sort of added up to this being the easy part of the decision. To me, now the tough part begins, which is actually adapting this offense and getting everybody ready for week one.
Do you think that Cam runs away with the job like he has if Jarrett Stidham doesn't suffer that injury and have to, decrease his reps in practice and throughout training camp? Just more opportunity obviously allowed Cam to look better in practice, but it was still going to be a huge adjustment, and it still is going to be a huge adjustment for the Patriots to react to such a different style of quarterback. Is this the scenario if Stidham's healthy?
I think it still ends up getting here. Maybe it's a little bit closer of a competition. To me, I think the most interesting part about this moving forward is what happens with Jarrett Stidham. What do the Patriots do with him? Obviously, his confidence might be shook a little bit after losing the job to Cam, after thinking really he was going to be the starter during the offseason. Then he comes in, he loses the starting job to Cam, he gets hurt in the process. And I wouldn't be shocked, and it might come after roster cutdowns on Saturday, but I wouldn't be all that surprised if the Patriots placed Jarrett Stidham on injured reserve for the first half of the season, because what is he really doing holding the clipboard for Cam Newton at this point? You have Brian Hoyer in that role already. The Patriots might be able to save a roster spot by placing Jarrett Stidham on IR. You get to week 8 and you're 2-6 or 3-5 and you're sort of out of it, then you can go that next step of bringing Stidham back and maybe see what the kid has. But to me, this really means a lot for Jarrett Stidham's future to see, sort of what can he bring to the table moving forward? Can he get over this hump of getting passed over by Cam Newton and be able to kind of move forward from this?
And we've speculated a lot about what the offense is going to look like this season with Cam Newton under center. So I want to get into a little bit of that and how you think they're going to utilize his skill sets, but also his weapons, because Mohamed Sanu was just released. So you got Edelman and N'Keal Harry as number 1 and 2 wideouts. And you got a robust group at running back. How is Cam Newton going to be utilized and utilize his weapons this season?
Well, as you'd expect, Sarah, I asked James White this exact question. Just basically, I tried my best to kind of frame it in a way that maybe he could answer. And I said, is it any different from a running game perspective with Cam under center versus sort of the traditional style of offense that you were running with Brady, the old school kind of pro style, as they would say, running game? And he said, nope, not different at all. Everything's the same for the running backs. And I think that, that's a little tongue in cheek if you ask me. Basically, what we saw at camp was the start of this sort of adaptation, especially that second week of camp after Jarrett Stidham got hurt, and it was pretty clear that Cam was getting the lion's share of the reps. We saw the RPOs, we saw the zone reads, we saw inklings of what's going to happen with this offense. To me, over the next couple of weeks, I think the Patriots are going to hammer those things home even more. So I don't think the passing game will be all that different. You might have some RPO actions and things like that implemented into this scheme, but I think really it's from a run game perspective, the zone reads, the gap reads, reads, the triple option type plays that maybe they might run now with Cam under center is going to be a lot of fun to watch. What Josh McDaniels and Jed Fish have cooked up in the lab in the meantime. I think that's really where we're going though with this running game, is that they know it needs to be a potent running game. They're going to have to average something over 5 yards per carry for this offense to score a lot of points this year. And I think it's really going to start with Cam being that option style quarterback that we're used to seeing. And I think he's ready for it.
And as of recently, now that we know that the Patriots had made their decision to roll with Cam Newton, Bill Belichick kind of gushed about Newton and how he's been adapting to the Patriot system. Matthew Slater has been really impressed with the way Newton has just approached the team in the locker room. And then we heard from Jed Fish, who said they're working off the assumption that Cam Newton is at his healthiest. What are your expectations for Newton to start this season?
It's a good question because it's pretty obvious that their weapons are not exactly what they would like them to be at this point, and certainly not matching what other teams have had in the AFC or even in the entire league. But I think what you do see with Cam is that, like I said earlier, he has that ability to elevate his pass catchers, elevate that supporting cast because of his ability to run the football. I think what you have to do if you're the Patriots, and this is sort of what Josh McDaniels and Jed Fish have talked about at times, is you got to dive headfirst into it. You can't kind of just, dip your toes or beat around the bush, so to speak. You got to go all in on Cam being the starter and running an offense that's going to fit Cam as the starter. So we're talking a lot more option style offense. We're talking a little bit more of a vertical passing game if they can get that going, and a lot of play action incorporated or even RPOs incorporated in there in order to use that his legs as a factor and use that basically as an 11th person to defend if you're the defense. So you're playing even numbers all the time, or even a little bit of an advantage in the box if you have Cam in the 6 or 7 man box. So I think that's really what you have to look at, is how can we schematically take advantage of these things, and what can we do with Cam's legs to be able to say, okay, maybe we have a little bit more smoke and mirrors now of you don't really know where the ball is coming from. You don't know where the point of attack is. You don't know who's going to be the ball carrier. And you have that ability to kind of do a bunch of different things.
Well, now that Cam's named the starting QB, it feels like we're really in regular season prep. So I'm excited for week 1 and all of our coverage leading up to that matchup with the Miami Dolphins. We'll have all your Patriots coverage leading up to that game and beyond on our website at clnsmedia.com. And as always, subscribe to our YouTube channel over at Patriots Press Pass.